They weren't doing anything, in my opinion, to protect her.
Right now at 6, multiple reports of sex assaults in metro schools.
We pulled her. We didn't have any choice. We had to move her schools.
And concerned parents say their complaints are being forgotten.
They even said that if there were a conviction, that their hands were kind of tied. There wasn't a whole lot they could do.
Inflation is hurting us all.
We know that this last year has been difficult. Rising prices, gas at $4 a gallon, groceries costing more.
Colorado wants to give you some of that money back.
Instead of government sitting on the money, we want to make sure we get it back to people.
Plus, a Denver neighborhood still feeling the impact from a water main break.
The carpet's destroyed, probably the hardwood flooring.
Thank you for watching Denver 7 News at 6 on Denver 7 Plus. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm JACLYN Allen. A pattern of negligence and cover-ups. Several more parents are coming forward tonight alleging their children were either sexually harassed or assaulted, and the Cherry Creek School District isn't doing enough to protect their kids.
And parents now are speaking up after a walkout at several schools last Wednesday in support of a sexual assault victim. Denver 7's Russell Haythorne with 2 families tonight that say the district's failing victims.
It's been just a horrible experience.
For this father who asked us to conceal his identity, the nightmare started in September 2020. His daughter allegedly sexually assaulted by 2 of her Grandview High classmates.
She attended a party at a friend's house, had been sexually assaulted while she was at the house. We called the police immediately after that. They came out. I can't really explain the emotions I was going through. It was all so surreal.
Unfortunately, he says, things only got worse from there.
When I spoke to the principal of Grandview, I was informed that there's nothing they could do. We ended up having to transfer my daughter to Elevation's full online school. It seemed like the only choice to keep her from having to be re-victimized.
He's not alone.
They've pushed this under the rug. They want all of us silenced. It's 100% negligence.
These aren't allegations. This actually happened.
Parents Sarah and Ben say their 7-year-old was shown pornographic terms by another 7-year-old while attending Antelope Ridge Elementary.
They were on the laptops that school hands out, and one of the boys asked her if she wanted to do the sex with him. She said, I don't know what that is.
In their case, they say the district and school did nothing to protect their daughter.
Not only were they not separated that day, but they weren't separated moving forward.
The board, the executives, all of this is on them.
And the only reason that we have a platform to talk about it today is because of all of the very brave students who saw something.
Yes.
And didn't just say something.
The walkout was a wonderful thing. Everybody involved with that gave us parents who were affected by all this the spotlight to tell you guys and to tell everybody what's really going on in Cherry Creek School District. It is not good.
The district responding with this statement, saying in part the district has followed both Title IX and CCSD board policies, and there's very little they can do. But civil rights attorney Igor Rakin says that's untrue.
You may have to see that person again. That could be terrifying for any victim of this kind of violence. Both Title IX, this federal law, and the policies of Cherry Creek and state law give Cherry Creek a great deal of authority over here to take protective measures to protect a student here, but at the same time they haven't done it.
Instead, it's often the families in these cases taking action themselves.
We pulled her. We didn't have any choice. We had to move her schools.
They weren't doing anything, in my opinion, to protect her.
She's the victim. She is not the one that needs to be kept away from other kids. He was. They failed to do that.
We just really want justice.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
In response to the incident at Grandview, Cherry Creek School District says it can't comment on specifics, but says when a serious allegation is made, they work to create a safety plan. Now, that could include separating class schedules, staggering passing periods, or finding other ways to make sure the students don't cross paths during the day.
This hasn't just been an issue within the Cherry Creek School District. We've seen several protests at schools across the metro over the past month. Last month, students at Northeast Early College in Denver's Montbello neighborhood walked out for the same reason. They say leadership is letting sexual assault allegations go unpunished.
Governor Polis was very busy today signing several bills into law. Just over an hour ago, he signed the state budget for the next fiscal year. So the state's allocated $36.4 billion for this budget, which includes funds for health care, public safety, and higher education, of course. Also, more than $7 billion slated to help K through 12 schools, and that's a 12% increase from last year. The governor also signed a bill into law today for universal pre-K. This newly signed law establishes a department as well that will oversee the process for providing 10 free hours of preschool for every family that needs it in Colorado. The program begins fall of 2023. The governor says it'll save families on average of $4,300 per year.
Another government check is on the way. This one is not a stimulus payment, though. This one is a tax refund on money you've already paid. Denver 7 political reporter Megan Lopez explains how much you're going to get and why some say this was a political move in an election year.
Colorado's tax system is determined in large part by the Colorado Taxpayer Bill of Rights, or TABOR. Basically, it limits the amount of revenue the government can spend each year based on the population and inflation numbers. Now, anytime the state collects more than that amount, they have to give it back to the taxpayers. This year, Colorado's economy was better than expected, hence the return. There's a few ways normally that the government can give that money back. They can offer temporary income tax cuts or property tax relief or even sales tax rebates. But none of that is as big or as flashy as a check. So today, the governor and Democrats held a big press conference to announce their plan.
This summer, every Colorado taxpayer will get $400, joint filers $800.
Now, normally that money wouldn't come back this quickly, but Governor Polis says that with inflation, people need that cash in their pockets right now.
We know that this last year has been difficult. Rising prices, gas at $4 a gallon, groceries costing more. Instead of government sitting on the money, we want to make sure we get it back to people.
Republicans we spoke with say that return is great, but it is not the result of one political party's actions, and they argue that Democrats have put a lot of fees in place in recent years that have hurt families.
Last year alone, there were fees on air, there were fees on plastics, there were fees on transportation, and now all of a sudden, because politically it's getting a little bit hot, they want to give money back. The reality is it's almost laughable. It's so politically transparent.
So they would rather see people keep that money along the way instead of being refunded. But anytime there's something political that's being discussed these days, you have to keep in mind that there is a big election this year. So even with this refund,
it really provides an opportunity for elected officials to really take credit for something that they didn't have a whole lot to do, and in the case of Tabor, particularly.
In fact, two of the people who attended Monday's press conference penned an op-ed last year in the Denver Post saying that Tabor stunted Colorado's progress and writing, quote, "This coming year, taxpayers will see rebate checks, but those will come at the expense of better funding for public services that reduce costs for all of us." Political or not, though, people will start to see those $400 checks in the mail in August or September. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
All lanes of Colfax and Aurora are back open right now after a cement truck hit a pedestrian bridge this morning. This is on Colfax between Victor Street and Ursula Street near the Anschutz campus. The driver had minor injuries and thankfully no one was on that pedestrian bridge when it was hit.
Restoration crews have been out all day long in Denver's Berkeley neighborhood cleaning up after a water main break Sunday morning flooded multiple houses and left behind a muddy mess. Denver 7's Patrick Perez spoke to neighbors who are worried what this is going to do to their homes.
This is what the inside of Josh and Aaron Maitland's basement looks like. Broken glass, debris, and a ton of mud. Not just on the ground, but even on the ceiling, showing just how high the water got the day before. We first met with the couple Sunday afternoon before they realized the disaster they'd be left with following a main break in Denver's Berkeley neighborhood that had water flowing for hours.
We just tried moving stuff up from the basement, just try to save what we could.
They were too tired to talk on camera Monday, but other homeowners were ready to share their frustration and exhaustion.
And so it's hard for me to think about having to go back to work tomorrow and when I don't even know where I'm going to live.
Stacey Bramer watched in disbelief as water poured into her basement. At one point, her front lawn looked like lakefront property.
I think some of it came through the ground and then some of it came through this door.
She worries what all of this will do to her home of nearly 2 decades.
I think the floors are ruined completely from underneath. And there's no point in replacing the floors if the foundation is ruined too, because it was an unfinished basement and a lot of dirt, a lot was coming out.
On Perry Street, where the main break happened, crews were hard at work Monday making repairs. It may take days before they're out of here.
I don't know when the last time that we had something like this is because of the magnitude. It's rare, to be honest with you.
Just down the street, Rose Gonzalez watched as her pickup truck, which won't turn on, got towed to give crews more room to clean up the several feet of mud.
Our crawl space is completely flooded. They're trying to get all the water out now. The carpet's destroyed, probably the hardwood flooring.
She, like others, is banking on Denver Water picking up the tab. So far, that hasn't been asking too much.
You know, everybody's going to say pass the buck, but no, they're really good so far.
Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
Denver Water is looking into what caused that water main break. As for how the agency is helping homeowners, a brochure that crews have been passing out shows that it will pay for water mitigation and even for the deductible for those whose cars were damaged.
Denver City Council tonight taking up multiple proposals. The first would provide $73 million to make the city more ADA accessible. If approved, improvements would be made to sidewalks and parking areas and other city properties. City Council also looking into a proposal to provide transportation services to the MONTBELLO neighborhood through electric shuttles and e-bikes. This $800,000 plan, if it's approved, would be in place through 2025. Also, the Downtown Denver Partnership hopes City Council will approve a contract that would give $3 million in individual grants to businesses along the 16th Street Mall.
Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson suits up in orange and blue and shares some thoughts about day one in minicamp.
The locker room and everything. Every guy's excited to go play ball and go do our thing.
Temperatures were still a bit cool today, but some beautiful weather's on the way for much of this week.
Plus, a questionable comment could have CPW looking for a new director.
He said, there she is in the back of the bus